Hey, what? This may not last long. A customer at work the other day asked if I was a big fan of The Little Mermaid. We all know how the saying goes. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but Disney adult allegations will destroy me. I'm here, of course, to talk about everything I enjoyed reading, watching, listening to in the month of July. Where am I? I'm not going to film the whole video like this. It's just that I left French summer behind and re entered the Arctic zone known as Melbourne. The vibes were so bad, I immediately got a sinus infection and my cat got sick, so my room is a bit of a mess. You got a pinky swear not to point out any traces of what may or may not be cat vomit in the background. Thank you. Oh, most importantly, guess who's freaking back? We are so back. I think the apple's rotten right to the core from all the pimples down from all the apples coming before. I bet the apple down symmetrical lines, you know. Mine is kind of scary, make me just wanted wife. Okay. My Husband by Ventura was recommended to me by a bookseller at my favorite English language bookstore in Paris, the Red Wheelbarrow. They're always so lovely there. It follows a French woman working as an English translator in the publishing industry. She is married and, well, obsessed with her husband, or rather their very conventional marriage. She strains to perfect this role of wife, doing anything she can to maintain her social and physical appearance, birthing two children she doesn't really care for, and punishing him in strange ways that will only improve them both. This is a novel detailing psychological warfare. The archetypes of neurotic wife and useless husband are truly pushed to their limits. The way a heterosexual couple communicates and how that intersects with various social structures, combined with the protagonist's job as a translator, was the most interesting part of this. The discussions of bilingualism, phrases which have no equivalents, the power then as a translator of choosing words which elicit a similar mood or message, establishes communication as very personal and subjective, and throws this central relationship into a very interesting light. Unfortunately, these themes, or what I found most interesting, were sidelined in favor of cheap attempts to shock and scandalize, which resulted in this literary fiction novella feeling more like a juvenile attempt at Gone Girl, and the absolute worst part of it for me was the epilogue. The goofy ass epilogue. And I'm going to spoil some things, so jump to wherever if you don't want to be spoiled, but I need to rant. Aside from being unnecessary and heavy handed, this epilogue undermined any point I had taken from this novel, which I had believed to be about the ways that male privilege in the form of weaponized incompetence is a legitimate threat to women's sanity. Not a radical statement by any means, but it was quite effectively done. So then to reveal the husband to be this scheming, evil genius mastermind purposefully manipulating his wife, does that not reduce a larger sociological structural issue down to the individual? And I know it can be said that he's using this perception to get away with this behavior, but I don't find it believable. I can suspend belief, but I cannot suspend boredom, and that's what this was to me. Boring. And I'll tell you exactly why. Every Christmas, I have to deal with a particular type of customer. A man, usually middle-aged, will come into the bookshop I work at and say, I need to buy a present for my wife/mother. To which I'll say, yeah, no worries. What does she like to read? Yeah, not too sure. Is any idea of genre, like crime fiction or romance or literary fiction? Does she read novels, or would you like more of a coffee table book? Any hobbies she really likes to do, or maybe like a TV show she loves. Well, this is the point in the conversation where they will state her profession, former profession, or I love this one, whether she's a grandmother or not, every single year, in fact, year round. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that the unintentionality, the however inadvertent disregard, the slow, gradual reduction of a woman's identity over no doubt the span of years is villainous. That is perhaps the most villainous to me. So to then center his perspective, I quite frankly don't care about his horrid psyche. I care about what is constraining and confining her to this relationship, her interpretation, her translation, her reality. To then switch languages, to continue this very loose metaphor, I found it to be quite condescending to the reader, who I can draw my own conclusions about this situation, thank you very much. And it also lessens nuance and interesting discussions to be had around this topic. I can't now talk to a friend who's read it about whether we think he was doing it intentionally. We can't interrogate our own biases. It's the cleaner conclusion. And nothing pisses me off more than an author taking the easy way out. I can't see myself recommending this to anyone aside from clueless men searching for the perfect gift, but it's quite divisive from the reviews I've read online. So if you had a different take to me, I'd love to hear it. And I just think I don't care to read about heterosexual marriage dynamics at the best of times. Gay marriage will become the only legitimate form of civil union under my leadership of the world. Read this if you've enjoyed Nicole Kidman, The Films of Emerald Fennell, Derogatory. Maybe Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth, Birkenbag, Desperate Housewives, Martini Rouge, Freud's Madonna Whore Complex, and Love is Blind, UK. Wait, maybe the gays shouldn't get married either. Don't clip that. I read Boulder by Eva Baltasar, which is a Catalan novel that was shortlisted for the International Booker Prize last year, I believe, and follows a woman who works as a cook on ships. She thrives in this environment. She loves it. The grease and grime, the small spaces and steamy kitchens, the transience of it all, smoking and drinking and eating and sleeping and fucking and working. Think below deck Mediterranean. Until they port one day and she meets a Finnish woman. The two were instantly drawn to one another. Their lives unfold as lives do. Lust turns to love, newness to comfort, excitement to compromise, and they settle down. But her now wife has nicknamed her Boulder for a reason, and she can't commit to this life. Not really. And then they have a daughter. It's about gender and autonomy, womanhood and queer parenthood, and how these constructed inevitabilities can poison even the most natural of inclinations. It's darkly erotic in the examination of freedom, liberation, independence, and scathingly hilarious at points. There are moments from this book that I think will be forever etched into my memory, certain lines, phrases, images that I don't think I'll ever be able to shake. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say I think this is some of the best contemporary prose I have read. It has a really poetic flow to it, an impressionistic style that suits the material, that perfectly complementary blend of style and substance you can only really recognize when you're in it. So good. And I love a novel that reframes this central relationship so that you end it feeling like this is the beginning of something else. And a mother-daughter narrative always will have a special place in my heart. Ugh, just delicious. Read this if you've enjoyed the work of Carmen Maria Machado, Cigarette, Bikes on Bikes, First Dates That Go On for Days, Adrian Lenker, The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson, Below Deck, and Belts with Fun Detachable Bits. The Sunbird by Sara Haddad introduces us to a curious little girl. She loves to play games, pretend to be a bird, run around the village, annoy her older sisters. Above all else, she is excited to start school. But she will not start school because she is Palestinian and it is December of 1947 and her life is about to change incomprehensibly. As an elderly woman living in Sydney in 2022, her life is also shifting. The burden of displacement hangs heavy, but the world seems to be awakening. We pivot between these points in her life and witness the scope of loss. Through her, we recognize all of the little girls, all of the people who will never get to grow older, and it's a really quiet novella that's powerful precisely because of its subtlety. By focusing in on these small moments, injustice is amplified and the survival of a girl, a woman, of all Palestinians is understood to be precisely what it is, an enduring act of hope, of strength, of defiance. I highly recommend this. If you take one of my recommendations, take this one. I only wish it had been longer. Strong vision, clear prose. Yeah, read it. Why care about anything when you have everything? Good question, Bret Easton Ellis. I read Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis, which is the novel that launched his career, the novel that his protagonist in his latest novel, The Sharts, is writing. It's very meta. I talked about The Sharts, his latest novel, at length in my last review wrap-up. And reading these novels, part of the same kind of universe loosely tied together, also his first and last, was honestly such a fun, wonderful experience. It is a repetitive book that relies on descriptions and on atmosphere, which is good because he can create an atmosphere. I could feel the desert heat. I could feel the coolness of the air-conditioned mall. I could feel the stickiness of these parties. We follow Clay. It's the 1980s, and he's a rich kid who is returning to LA after vacation. And this limitless privilege he has kind of made everything boring. Sex, drugs, parties, celebrities, it's all whatever. How far can nonchalance be pushed? What will it take to make these kids feel, to act? Well, as it becomes increasingly obvious that Clay's childhood friend and lover is in danger, desperation builds, and Clay must ask himself how far he is willing to go. Disgusting events unfold through this utterly detached perspective that often feels quite hollow. But that's the whole point. The disenfranchised nature of this lost generation, of a generation where youth and innocence seems to be stripped systematically from them to little or no consequence. We wait for something to happen, and when it does, it's sickening and very effective. I did find it a little tricky to keep track of all of the side characters that began to feel a little same. My attention particularly wavered during the dialogue-heavy scenes, not just because of what the characters were saying, which was often horrendous. Look up trigger warnings if you're sensitive to certain things. But I couldn't help but compare, and I know it's a natural progression for a writer. It's good that the shots was so much more well put together and cleaner, but I do think that reading this directly after the charts, whilst was super fun for the meta element, lessened my liking of it, but not to zero. Wait, I just ate that up. Wait, why did I kind of eat? Whoa. If you're thinking of dipping your toe into the BEECU, I would recommend starting with less than zero and then going on to the charts. But if you hate less than zero, still read the charts because it's good. And my opinion is what? Objective. Yeah. So I'm reading Glamorama now. I may return one day with a full recommended reading order and probably be a completely different person after reading all of his work. So until next month, bestie Brett, we're not besties. He does not like me. He does not like me. He hates me, actually. I can feel it through the pages. The feeling's mutual. Okay. Read this if you've enjoyed Mysterious Skin, Leaving Anonymous Hate Comments, Grinder, That Alleyway Behind Smith Street, Wearing Boat Shoes Without Socks, Daddy Issues, Looking at Pictures of Your Child Self and Wondering What Happened. That's everything I read in July. Usually I can pick out a specific theme, but I can't really this time. Maybe like marriage or rocks of all kinds. If you can, let me know down below. And August is a really good reading month for me so far. The Irish writers are sweeping me away per usual. One particular Irish writer you will be excited to know I am reading, Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I got an advance copy, except I'm really angry. The advance copy I got is number 68. Could I not have gotten 69? That would have been freaking awesome. Historically, I've enjoyed a chess-centered narrative. Historically. I am a liar and a poser. Once. I read one, not even novella by Stefan Zweig called Chess, or The Royal Game, I think. It's one of my favorite stories of all time. One. I read one chess-related story that I liked. I've never even played chess, genuinely, not even like mobile or computer chess. So come back next month for my thoughts on Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. Already, I have many thoughts. Me think. Ooga booga. On to what I watched this month, and this segment comes with a disclaimer because in July I spent a lot of time outdoors. I know, cringe. Basically, I had seen this spiritual practice making the rounds, and I really wanted to give myself over to that. It was making waves. A lot of people I admired were talking about it. A lot of my friends, a lot of my mutuals suggesting it. And basically, I dove in and I did it. I touched grass. You might think this is a bit. My genuine miscellaneous recommendation of the month is to get outside on all fours and touch grass. I'll never forget last year when I was in the throes of like editing, work, uni, life stress, and I was at the park and I suddenly looked at a tree and was just struck by it, not physically, metaphorically, spiritually, mentally, because it was just like growing. And something shifted in me. So this video's interlude is brought to you by pictures of my dad's veggie patch, his potager. Also, my cousins and I went to Marseille, which was really fun. Maybe I'll insert some pictures. This is like a holiday slideshow. Guys, this is fun. In Marseille, I managed to touch rock. Different texture to grass. Still quite rewarding, I'd say. I did manage to watch Interview with the Vampire, edits. So many edits. I'm not going to talk about Interview with the Vampire again. I talked about it at length last month, and if you didn't take my recommendation then, consider this your second warning. There will be a third warning, and a fourth, and a fifth, and a sixth, because I'm never going to shut up about this show. The best show on television right now, dare I say. I do dare say, and I will be saying, and continue to say. Slay. No, actually, though, I did indulge in the films of Jacques Demy, which, if you don't know, he was a French New Wave director, best known for his musical films. He was also the life partner of Agnes Varda, another incredible filmmaker. If you haven't watched any of her films, please do. And she actually documented a lot of the behind the scenes of his work, which is really fun. For someone with deep-seated commitment issues, I sure do love to harp on about commitment. But truly the best, not even the best, the most interesting art fully commits. And Demy is such a prime example of this. His films are so technicolor, so full of life, so full of whimsy and music, but they're not thematically hollow. They don't shy away from things like social pressures and isolation and loneliness and loss. Who said you can't have a quaint pastel dream town where everybody sings about love and also maybe someone's been beheaded? This is exactly what Les Demoiselles de Rochefort is about. Maybe my favorite of his, yeah, it is. It's my favorite of his films. I rewatch it multiple times a year, and it just gets better with every rewatch. It follows twin sisters played by real-life sisters Catherine Deneuve and Françoise Doléac, who tragically died just before the film's release, but was set to be one of France's huge film stars. They run a dance music studio teaching dance and music respectively, and they dream of moving to the big city and finding success and finding love. In fact, everyone in Rochefort, from the traveling motor show that have just arrived to the sailors and military men to the cafe workers and patrons, everybody dreams of finding love, whether that's refinding a lost love or a dream love. It's all anyone will sing and dance about. Oh, did I mention Gene Kelly is there? And also maybe there's an axe murderer. The soundtrack is just banger after banger. Oh, hang on. Look what my dad found for me at a market. La Demoiselle Vinyl. I do fear Chanson de Maxence will be in my Spotify Wrapped this year. It's looking like that. I love that silly little twink. In comparison, the film he is better known for that won a Palme d'Or at Cannes, I'm pretty sure. Le Parapluie de Cherbourg, Parapluie, that's a hard word to say, is much more of a somber film. It follows the lives of two young lovers, him from a lower social class than she is, as their path is interrupted by mandatory military conscription. In his absence, she is influenced by others to seek a different kind of love. Geneviève. Oh, Geneviève. Geneviève. That's how he says her name. Geneviève. I'll never be able to say it any other way. Is it better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all? Probably. But that first love, that first loss, that first heartbreak, if you know, you know, indescribable, incomparable, haunting. The climax of this film, the quietness of it, truly moved me to tears every single time. This is also a musical film, and I don't find myself listening to the album in the same way I do Les Demoiselles de Rochefort. It doesn't have the same bangers. Well, you probably could garner that from the subject matter. His other well-known films include Perdun, which is a fairy tale retelling of, what's it called in English? Donkey Skin, and it's an absolute visual feast. Catherine Deneuve's in that one as well, and Lola, and oh my god, okay, so a lot of his films are actually connected. They're in the same universe, and the same characters will pop up in multiple films, which, you know, I love. You know that will tickle my fancy every single time. Anyway, Jacques Demy just tickles my fancy in general. On to what I listen to. I promise I'm going to try not to wave my mic around this time. Oh my god, I might have to put Gizmo down. Hold on. I fear I did a lot of Le Demoiselle de Rochefort karaoke this month. One of my favorite songs to sing is, of course, Chanson de Maxence, I mentioned that. But also there's Simon's song, and his name is, there's like a running gag in the film. His name's Simon Dame. Dame is like woman, madam, lady. So his name is Monsieur Dame, but Monsieur Dame also means like ladies and gentlemen. And he was left because his future wife did not want to be called Madame Dame. It's very tragic they did not have to do my boy like that. Anyway, he has a very funny, dramatic song. Oh, my mum introduced me to Marie Laforêt, a French singer. Sorry for all the France mentions this video, guys. I should have put a trigger warning at the start. Back in Australia now, so I'll try to minimize this behavior. Marie Laforêt has this song. It's a duet, actually. I love a duet. It's extra French, also because it's about an affair. It's called France. It's about this woman who is like dancing with her lover France, and France keeps informing her that her husband is sick. And she's like, he'll take medicine. It's like, go home, your husband is almost cold. And she's like, my husband's almost cold, like he'll get warm. Dance with me again. It's so funny. Marie Laforêt and Guy Biard, I believe, they performed it as a duet, like decades apart on television, and it's all on YouTube, so you can watch them progressively get older singing this song together. And I just love a silly little story song. I also love her song Saint-Tropez Blues. The little piano keys are so fun. Walking down the street to this. I feel like I had a real album month. Like I was only listening to like a couple albums and not individual songs. So I had the Jacques Demy, the Marie Laforêt. Sufjan Stevens. I always have a Sufjan on the go, but I dove back in to Seven Swans. Very underrated to me personally, probably not to everyone else because duh, but still listening to it this month. So good. In the Devil's Territory, duh. Oh, a good man is hard to find. Like even reading the names of the songs ruins me. This dress looks nice on you. To be alone with you. Size too small. We won't need legs to stand. A good man is hard to find. He woke me up again. Oh, I love you, Sufjan. I need to see him perform live before I die. Like, I think I will truly ascend. Carrie and Lau, still my number one, but Seven Swans. Yeah. The sun is fully set, so that's a wrap on Pookie and I for our July wrap up. If you read or watched or heard anything interesting, let me know. Put it in the comments. Heard. Did you hear a fun fact? Did you hear any gossip? Actually, please, if you have any juicy goss, put it in the comments. And if it's really incriminating and doxes someone and exposes private information, please don't put that in the comments. Please DM me. Okay. Thank you as always for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll see you, let's be honest, probably next month. No, I'm going to clean my room so I can, well, access my bookshelf and do a much anticipated bookshelf tour. Wouldn't that be fun? I need to get rid of a bunch of books as well, so maybe it can be like a clear out video. Okay, I love you. Okay, bye. Wait, do you have anything to say? Wait, can you hear it? Mwah.